Great. Okay, to start with, my name is Rajorshee Biswas. I am a software development manager at Geekster. I basically take care of all things engineering at Geekster. And today we'll be talking about Google. So to start with the few things, what we will cover is, we'll talk about a bit of Google's history, how it started and how things went down the line and where Google is eventually. How does Google search actually work, as in the key aspects of it? Like when you type in a search result, what do you see, what it is based on? The other thing is that how does Google most important algorithm works? Google has a proprietary algorithm through which it started, and we'll talk a bit about that. And we'll end it up with the languages that Google uses, as well as we'll look at a few of the database technologies that Google uses, right? So let's talk about Google. So this is how Google began. You could look at the first production server of Google right here. It looks like a mess right now. You can see HDDs, which are now almost obsolete since the industry is moving to SSDs. And so Google was founded by two founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. There was a third co-founder as well, who actually exited soon before the company was launched as a corporate in America. Google, actually, the first name of Google was actually Backup in 1996, while the founders were PhD students at Stanford. So that's the most interesting as well. So Google शुरू हुआ था 1996 में as a PhD thesis. Basically, the founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, wanted to write a thesis paper on what they want to do, on what they want to present as their PhD thesis to get a PhD degree. So they started on writing an algorithm, which is currently known as the PageRank algorithm, which we'll cover in the later sections. So once PageRank algorithm came into the place, they realized that this could be an actual business. So they hosted it on a Stanford server, which was basically google.stanford.edu. That is the server that they hosted it on. And amazingly, Stanford servers were actually getting so much traffic from Google that Google soon realized that they had to shift to a different server altogether. So that is what happened. And finally, they realized that they could build a business around it. And finally, they created Google in 1998. September 4th was the official date where they incorporated. Now, if you go to Google's history, Google actually started in a garage, much like Amazon and Apple. सारे बड़े कंपनी garage से शुरू होते हैं. Google also started from a garage, and look at where it is today. It's called the behemoth of the industry because of these simple reasons. Now, with a bit of Google history, let's start on what are some interesting facts of Google. Google gets around 8.5 billion queries per day. That is almost 850 crores if I talk about Indian numbers. 850 crores of Google searches per day. Out of every 100 searches, 91.9 searches are on Google, which typically means that normally if a person is searching on the internet, let's say 100 times, out of which 91.9% will be on Google. Other search engines are Russian, Yandex, then Yahoo, Bing. All of them together comprise just 8.1% together. Google actually has 99,000 searches per second. So you can imagine what type of a huge server this is. 91,000 servers, 91,000 searches per second. So much load that it is taking right now. The entire anybody who opens Google, like anybody, I know India has a fair share of Android smartphones, right? So in that fair share of Android smartphones, every time you open a browser, every time you search for anything, is it Google by default? And whatever you are feeding into searching is actually you are using the Google service. Even on Android phones, whenever you search anything, even for iPhones, actually Google pays almost a good amount of money to iPhone for Google being their default search engine. That is how powerful Google is. According to an analysis of 4 million Google search results, just 0.63% of people click on the second page of Google search results. This is an amazing statistic, that out of not even 1% of people go on the second page. And this is, if you look at from the marketing perspective, whenever you go to, let's say you want to buy something, let's say you want to buy an iPhone, you go to Google and type buy new iPhone. is the first page that you look at for the prices across different marketplaces like Amazon and Flipkart. You do not go to the second page at all. So ranking on the Google's first page of search is so important for you to get some traffic, right? In 2022, that is the previous year, the most search keyword was Wordle. That is an amazing word. And everybody might be thinking, what is this word, Wordle? Wordle is a word-based game. Now, where did I get this data from? This data is actually from Google's trends. My screen is visible, right? You can see my screen in Google Trends. Ankit, can you confirm that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The screen is visible.
Okay. So this is trends.google.com. As you could see, this showed whatever trended in the last year. This is 2022 global, right? So these are the searches which were the most famous. We have Wordle, we have India versus England, Ukraine, Queen Elizabeth. So this is the word which trended the most. This is officially from Google, right? Then there are other things. Let's look at India. What do we have in India? In India, people search for Indian Premier League, which I guess is as expected since India is such a cricket fanatic nation. Then we have FIFA World Cup, Asia Cup. People search for movies as well. We have Brahmastra on the top, followed by KGF Chapter 2. And then we have people, we have news events, we have sport events, we have whatever. People also use Google for searching near me, right? You could search for a barber shop near me. People have searched for swimming pool near me and water park near me. Then there is again whatever is in the recent news. What is Agnipath scheme? What is NATO, NFT, PFI? So these are the recent trends in Google search for the last year. You could check it for every country. That is possible here. You just have to go to trends.google.com and you should be arriving on that page, right? So now let's get back. All right. Another quite interesting thing you might have realized is that Google's US organic traffic, have not able to get the estimate for India, but Google US organic search traffic is almost 63% for mobile. In India, I think the number would be greater because India has a far greater number of mobile users because of digital revolution led by Jio and other things. Another interesting aspect is Google Lens. I'm not quite sure how many of you have actually experienced this Google Lens, but Google Lens is a common feature in Android phones right now, where you could use the app of Google Lens to search for any text which is inside an image. So that is quite common right now, which could be used. All right, let's move on to the next one. So now, addressing the elephant in the room, how does Google search actually work? Google search in itself, when you type in a search results, it gives you an instantaneous response, right? For example, you could search for anything, X, Y, Z. You could search for, let's say, again, if I take the same example, buy new iPhone, it gives you an instantaneous result. How does it catch it? So it has 3 stages to it: crawling, indexing, and serving search results, which are all independent of each other. They run independently, all of them. So let's address the first one. What is crawling? Crawling is the discovery process in which search engines send out a team of robots known as crawlers or spiders to find new and updated content. Content can vary. It could be a web page, an image, a video, or a PDF, etc. But regardless of the format, content is discovered by links. All right. So what does that actually mean? Let's say you are a user, you go to a website, let's say amazon.in. You search it, right? You go, basically see the entire page, and then you move on to other sections. Crawlers are, let's say, if I have to give that example, are similar to humans. They go to the web page, they take in all the data which is available: textual, image, videos, anything which is present on the web page. They catch hold of that data and send it back to Google, which then triggers the second stage, which is indexing. But crawling does that the entire process. So if I have to explain crawling in a better way, let me take geekster.in. This is our website. I believe many of you would have seen this already. Now, if I go to the page source, which is now I'm on geekster.in, I press Ctrl+U, you'll see the page source over here, right? I have a lot of textual content over here. Google crawler would save all of that in its database. Okay. It stores all of that in its database is using your title, your description, all of it will be saved by Google directly in the database, right? A few things which we will do is it will take in the words which are present here, like let's say Geekster, best platform to learn coding, and strip everything off. Strip every space, every hyphen, every special character, and just take in the keywords. Best platform, Geekster, learn, coding, online with 100%. It will take all of that. The other thing it will try to do is if I scroll a bit below, I'm not quite sure if you can see it's in very small font. Let me try and enlarging this. The other thing you could see is this canonical URL. This is very important for Google. It tries to understand the canonical URL of every page and it tries to find out which page does it belong to. That is how it works. So it takes in all the data. If there are any images as well, it takes in all the data. And the most important thing around here is, let's say Geekster comes, Google crawler visits this web page, right? It will scan the entire page. It will try to find links. Let's say we have a link to our privacy policy here. So it will try to find links and it will scroll to this link and then crawl this entire page as well and take out all the data which is possible is there and send it back to Google to store. Google does not find out data real time. It stores all the data. It stores and then uses that for search, right? These things are called links which Google will crawl. Why this is important, I'll get to it when I actually make you understand the page rank algorithm which Google has. So this crawls all the data and basically stores it into the Google database. Another quick important fact about is that no matter how big your web page is, technically you could have a web page which spans as big as it could, but there is a 15 megabyte limit. Google will scroll content only up till a 15 megabyte limit and then it will stop. It will ignore the rest of it. The thing to know about crawlers is that Google has two crawlers. Majorly two, there are actually four crawlers that Google has. Google Bot Desktop. Google Bot Desktop scrolls, as the name says, scrolls desktop sites. Like this site would be scrolled by Google Desktop. Another scroller is Google Bot Mobile, which typically scrolls mobile devices. But since mobile devices, as it said, that mobile devices are more crucial, so Googlebot actually uses Googlebot Mobile to a much greater extent than Googlebot Desktop. Googlebot Desktop is very minuscule. As for the images and other things, there is Googlebot Image and Googlebot Video, which are used as scrappers to scrap image and video. Their limit is still yet not known publicly. All right. So now I believe the fundamental aspect that the crawler takes in all the content and store it in the database is clear. If you have any questions, please drop it in the Q&A. I'll try to the best of my ability to answer them. So let's go back. Crawlers we are done with. Let's try to get to the next section, which is indexing. Now, as I said, all the information has been collated and Google has the list of all the information which is there. Now, what does it have to do with all the information? What does it do? So that is something called indexing, where Google runs in algorithms and tries to find out that if, let's say, again, if I take the example of iPhone, Google has indexed all of it, try to find out where is the iPhone keyword present and all of that. Now, it has the list of keywords, it has the list of images, videos, page titles, canonical URLs. Now iPhone is there in its database. I search for iPhone. How does it give you the most accurate result? So this is where indexing comes into the picture. Indexing tells Google which page is the most relevant and where it should lead you to if you search for a particular term. So what is indexing? Indexing is based primarily on a few factors. Right, they use a set of proprietary algorithms to determine this. One of them, the most famous, is the page rank algorithm, which Google uses. And Does the crawler store all the data permanently? I have a question. Let me answer that. If not, after how much time it is updated? So the scroller actually will scroll your pages possibly, let's say, 2-3 times in a day. Google does not have any approximate time for how the crawler crawls data, how frequent. For some websites, it could be very frequent. You could also go to the Google Search Console to request for the crawler to crawl your site. Otherwise than that, Google will crawl it automatically. It could be as low as an hour, or it could take 5 to 6 days as well. As well as for the data is with Google. As of now, Google does not disclose how long it keeps the data for, but it is there with Google for quite some time. And the second thing is that one of the factors which Google determines for the data to is it relevant or not is the freshness of the data, how soon it has been updated, how recent is the data. So those also are the factors which basically play a quick role, right? So now coming back to indexing, what does indexing play a role, and how does indexing give you the actual result, right? So uh, we have a Google set of proprietary algorithms to determine this. However, most of this is not available to the general public. Here are a few factors which are known, which Google uses. Meaning of the query. That means what have you typed into Google? That is the most important factor. For example, if you type in rock, whether it should show a piece of stone or it should show you the Hollywood star rock. That it's a very ambiguous. This factor will also determine what have you searched for in the past. Like the first time, let's say you are a very newbie to Google, right? Google, you type in rock, Google will show you options. Rock as in the stone rock, or there is this section you might have seen on Google. Did you also mean this Hollywood actor, or let's say other meanings, whatever it is, right? The moment you click on it, next time you come on, it will lead you straight to that page. They have captured your search query. They know what you want. They are very explicitly, they know what you have done and what you have searched for, and that is pretty clear to them, right? The second thing is that, let's say, meaning of the iPhone. Let's say you type in iPhone. Now you have to entered a very ambiguous query. iPhone. What does it mean? Do you want to buy an iPhone, or do you want to, let's say, just know about an iPhone? So it tries to gather your past behavior you've searched for it, or otherwise it will show you both the options, first and second, based on your ranking of past historical data. Right. Buy new iPhone is pretty explicitly clear that you want to buy an iPhone. It will show you either Amazon, Flipkart, or other resellers which are available in the local near you. Right. So that is the meaning of the query. Your meaning of the query is very important to Google. That it holds the most important while showing you the search results. Next comes the relevance of the pages. Right. Relevance of the pages is determined by a page rank algorithm, which we'll soon cover. So we'll come to that. Quality of content. What does that mean? You have, for example, let's take Amazon.in. Amazon.in is a highly visited website, right? People visit it lakhs of times daily. Google knows this. Google tracks obviously its activity. Whenever you click on an Amazon link from Google, Google tracks all of it. So Google knows that people have gone to Amazon from Google. So it knows that it's a high ranking authoritative site. People actually recognize Amazon as a trusted brand. So if you search for iPhone on Amazon, it will show you Amazon on the top link. The quality of that page is very high. You have all the data there, you have images there, videos there. If you go to Amazon product description, you have a lot of text over there describing the iPhone features and everything. The iPhone word would be repeated multiple times. Google also takes that into account, how much of the word gets repeated on the page. That way it ranks the quality. The more number of times a word gets repeated, the more the more traffic, the more authoritative. So all of these factors come into play when they decide the quality of a page, right? The next factor comes, which is usability of pages. What do you mean by usability of pages? Normally, if a website is slow, Google renders it unusable. You cannot use it, whether it's on mobile or desktop. Let's say you have interstitial pop-ups. Like, for example, you go to the website, suddenly a pop-up comes. Google renders it unusable. You have your CSS is skewed. Content is not readable. Content font size is too low. Content font size is too huge. Images are out of shape. All these factors come into the factor. Your page load time is too huge. It takes over 15 seconds to load your web page. All of these will rank your website down on Google, that your page is not usable. And lastly, context and settings. What does context and settings mean? Right? Context and settings means where is your physical location, for example. If you go to Google, you type in, let's say, barber near me. It cannot show you barber of England or US, right? It has to show you the barber of your native place, what is near you. So that is why your location is also very important. All of these things, what is your context, what is your historical search results. Let's say, for example, let's take the example of a barber shop. You go to a local barber shop every time, right? But let's say for once you selected a barber shop near me, and you went to, let's say, a fancy salon or something. Next time you search for it, it will show you the fancy salon as the first result, because it knows you are the person who, instead of going to the low end barbershop, will go to a high end barbershop. So these things play into what Google shows you as a search result. The other thing also plays is that what device are you on, because Google tends to speculate. For example, if you are on a desktop device, it would more likely show you different results than the mobile devices. How their exact algorithm works based on devices is not yet known right now. Okay. So now coming to the next one, which is your most, I think this is the part where everybody would be interested, how page rank works. The Google algorithm for showing how does page rank exactly works, right? So Google page rank, for example, as I mentioned, Amazon, right? Let's say Amazon as page A. Amazon by default is a trustworthy site. It has 4 stars. It has, let's say, 4-star rating. Its indexing is great. People visit it. It's considered as authoritative site. Whatever data is on it is greatly appreciated. People visit it frequently. Now, let's say Amazon, on the web page of Amazon, let's again take the case of an iPhone. On the iPhone web page of Amazon, it has 2 links, right? 2 links which are going to different vendors, right? This link goes to here, this link goes to here, right? So both of them, Google crawler by default will catch those links, as explained in the scrolling section, and they'll come to page B, and then they will come to page C, right? So Google crawler will come to page B, and then because it has come, the link has come from a domain which is actually respected, it will give 2-star to that particular domain. Index will rank higher, right, on the indexing chart. The same thing, let's say there's a 3-star. From here, if they come to page C, they will gain 1 star. So page C has, let's consider this is Amazon, this is some third-party site, right? This site also has 3-star authoritative, like lots of people visit it, its content is great, it's usable. Google sends a lot of traffic to this site, but Amazon is more, right? So when Amazon has a backlink, this gets 2-star. This has a, from another site also has a backlink, this gets 1-star. This site has a 3-star, right? These sites do not have a backlink from Amazon, so they have 1-star and 1-star, both of them. Which means this site, when you search, let's say all these 4 sites are ranked for a singular keyword. Let's say these are all barbershops, right? So normally, since these two have much more backlinks and from authoritative site, this one has just one backlink from Amazon, let's say it has 2 stars. This one has 2 backlinks from another site, so this has 3 stars, and these two just have one backlink from a 3-star authoritative site, so they have 1-star and 1-star. This is how the PageRank algorithm works, which was developed at Stanford by the founders of Google. If you have any questions regarding that, please put it in the Q&A section. I'll be glad to answer them, right? This is how page algorithm totally works. Let's take a quick water break, 1 minute. Does this also track if you are in a private mode? Private mode, generally you do not have. If you go into the incognito mode, normally you do not save cookies and other stuff, right? You don't, the cookies and all are not there at that point in time. So normally the general tracking, as much as they would be able to track you in normal mode, they won't be able to track you in private mode. But obviously they would have tracked your IP address. IP address based traffic would always be there. So that is something which would always be there, and there's nothing which could be done about it, to be very honest, because traffic is going out from your IP, right? So that way it will track that you are going out from there. Is there a paper regarding this algorithm? If yes, can you please share when we can access it? Normally, this PageRank algorithm, you could directly go to scholar.google.com. They have a lot of uh, documents and algorithm data which is already present there. So I believe from there you could download it. That should be fairly useful to you. Scholar.google.com has a lot of Google patents and filings which are regularly used, and you could definitely download. They have, for example, paper on the database like big table and other things. So all of those are there on scholar.google.com. Right. So there are more other algorithms also. This is not a single algorithm that you are saying. Google has more other algorithm. Google uses the algorithm for fuzzy search as well, where you type in a word, it's misspelled, Google gives you the correct spelling. This is dependent on a different algorithm, for example, and all these other things. Google is algorithm on algorithms. It's not a single algorithm that powers Google. This is the main of it because this is how Google started the PageRank algorithm, but Google has a ton of other algorithms as well. The other algorithms which could power Google are like, what ads do you see? What are your user preferences? What do you come on? If you go to Google search, if you type in a keyword, the first two links would always be ads, majorly under normal scenarios. So Google uses a lot of algorithms, but this is the main powerhouse, the brain between that, right? Is there any specific criteria as to how many stars a respectable website gets? It's actually, this is all internal Google information. This PageRank algorithm works in this particular way, but how Google actually ranks specific websites is not exactly known. Second thing, there is one more interesting thing if you'd like to notice. Let's say if I go to Google, right? I go to Google. Now, what is Google? Google is a search engine, right? You want to know Google that, let's say if you search anything on Google, you'll get it, right? But let's say if I type the word search engine, you won't get it anywhere. It tells you about other search engines and what is a search engine. Other links is what you get. You do not get Google in itself. This question was actually asked to Google that why don't you rank yourself as a search engine? Google was like, that's actually not relevant to them, since Google does not do SEO optimization on their own site. So Google does not list itself as a search engine. Instead, mostly the relevance is also there that if people are looking for a search engine on Google, people are exactly not looking for Google. They'd be looking at Google competitors or alternatives. So that is something which is very interesting, that if you search for a search engine on Google, it will actually lead to other pages. Right. So coming back to the PageRank, any other questions on PageRank algorithm which you would like to know? Anything else? All right, then let's move on to the next section, which is languages used. The languages used by Google are very few. They use the primary languages, though they have coming out with their new languages itself. Google search engine is powered by the languages as it is shown on the screen below. Backrub, the first version of Google, was written in Java and Python. This would be back in the early 90s, so you can experience not many modern languages were not present. JavaScript itself was still in its infancy. So in that scenario, Backrub itself was written in Java and Python, and then finally they migrated to C++. Now, why do you say C++ instead of so many other famous languages which are there in the market today? It's because of the single reason that C++ is very extensible. It has low memory management, and all of that things are there. C++, you can directly access the kernel of the memory and other things. So that way, C++ is a great choice for native applications which need highly powerful customization. Java, as you know, is and was the industry standard, so Java obviously takes a bit piece of the cake, that Java is used very widely. Next comes Python. Python is very user friendly, as well as it's a very powerful language when it comes to data analysis and other things. So Python also takes a piece of the cake, as well as JavaScript. Now, if you look at JavaScript, all modern browsers use JavaScript. There is no way you could go about it. All right. JavaScript is used in all web browsers. So in that scenario, Even Google uses JavaScript to render its web pages for dynamic and other things. So JavaScript is one of the uh, most widely used languages here at Google. Also at Google, normally they have the engineers have a choice to use whatever language they want, but the language choice will be around these, mainly around these four choices, that you either have to use a few of them. The other languages that were used were basically which Google has come out recently are Rust. Rust is a very low level language which could be used. Next is Carbon. If you have heard about Carbon, Carbon is actually they're trying to replace C++ with Carbon, which Google is coming out. Carbon is very famous for its memory management, which is basically your RAM management, your RAM so that servers can run efficiently. So these are the few things which Google is coming out soon. All right, let's say, will recording be available? My network is unstable. That I think Ankit will have to answer. How ranking works? If you still have that question, please let me know. I believe I have tried to answer it. If not, please ask the question again. I'll definitely try to answer. Ranking algorithm based on which factors? So if I have to reiterate, ranking algorithm will be based on first, trustworthiness of this site. How much traffic does it get, right? How much traffic would it get? How much is it going to come by? How much traffic will it get? What is its SEO ratio? How high does it rank, right? These two factors are the most major factors which will decide it. Freshness of the content. Is the page updated regularly? There is no point showing a page which is 5 years old, right? The freshness of the content has to be very new. Next thing, the backlinks. This page authoritativeness, the 4-star it got, it's because some other web pages would also have redirected to it, right? That is the reason why this is a 4-star page. Freshness, is it usable? As I mentioned, the CSS factors and the other factors which play a role. Freshness, usability, backlinks. Are other web pages coming back here? Are they sending a link back here? Does it have validity on other pages? Or does the web, because the more websites have a backlink to, the more they are like Google understand that this page is respected, right? And the more traffic Google sends to this page. Like if you want to go to Amazon right now, many people, what they do is directly go to Google, type in Amazon dash product, and Amazon gives you the exact link, right? So Google recognizes people are looking for this link. So there are a lot of factors which play in increasing the authoritativeness score of this particular page, which in turn, if they backlink, will increase the authoritativeness score of these few pages. So that is how exactly ranking algorithm works. It depends on a variety of factors, but the most famous factors would be freshness, the backlinks provided to this page, the content on this page. Is it up to the mark? Is it SEO friendly? Is it does it contain the actual reason where the page is going to for, as well as the usability again? So these few factors are basically it. The other factor which could also play a role, which is actually very minor, is that my particular user, let's say I am going on Google, have I visited this website before? Do I consider it good for me? Like, have I come back to it? So that is something which is also checked, right? What is backrub? Backrub is the first version of Google. Backrub is the first version of Google. When Google was not Google, Google was named Backrub. The page rank algorithm which Google, the founders of Google had made, were first used on a website called Backrub, which they finally renamed it to Google. Like Facebook right now, before it was Facebook, now it has renamed itself to Meta. Same way, Backrub was previously Google, now it has renamed itself to Google. So that is how this exactly works. Backrub was previously Google. Right. Now coming back to the next section, which is, you might be thinking, how does Google handle so much load? Like as I told you, 850 crore traffic. That's a huge traffic. How does it play a role into that particular thing, right? So first thing is load provisioning. Google knows how much load it can get, right? It has an experience in handling so much traffic. It knows that this much traffic is coming every day, year on year. Traffic is increasing, decreasing. At one point of the day, how much traffic will it get? Let's say Google has a trend. at 3 p.m. every day India time, I get 100 crore traffic. Right. At 3 a.m. India time, I get traffic 2 crores. Google knows it because they have been establishing, going on from day to day to day, that this is how much traffic we are getting. This is the gradual increase in traffic over a period of time. So all of that Google is tracking. Google knows this particular thing, right? So Google, in that capacity, let's say one server of them, one Google server has, let's say, can handle, let's say, 1 crore traffic. So if they know they are getting 100 crore traffic, in that scenario, they will deploy 100 servers, right? 100 servers will be there to handle a traffic of this scale. At night, they have only 2 crore traffic. So they will only deploy 2 servers, which can handle that amount of traffic. They do not want to overspend. Like, there is no point in running 100 servers at 2 a.m. in the night when there is no traffic, right? It's a waste of cost because servers cost money to run. So that is why they use this thing called load provisioning, which is a technical term based on the load that you get. Based on the load, you decide how much traffic you should, how much servers you should run, and how much servers you should run, and when should you stop the specific server, right? The another key important thing that you should know is network load balancer, which Google has its own term, maglev, as someone has asked previously. A paper on this is also available on scholar.google.com about the load balancer maglev, which is basically so let's say, as I explained, Google has 100 servers, right? Let's say, consider this as server A, this server B, this is server C. So let's say I have, this can handle 1 crore, this can handle 1 crore, this can handle 1 crore. So let's say I have sent traffic across, and this is my load balancer, maglev, sitting right here. I have sent traffic. First server, like first 1 crore traffic, I will not directly send it here, right? Because then this two will lie unused. There's no point of it. Why do I have to run these two then? What will happen is that in the first 1 lakh, which traffic comes in, we will have, let's say, 30 lakhs here, 30 lakhs here, 40 lakhs here. This is a load balancer. As the name says, it balances the load. It distributes the traffic. As much as you get, let's say 1 crore request, it will distribute the traffic among these 3 equally, so that load does not exceed. And load balancers are also equipped with so much authority that if they see that these 3 servers cannot handle, there is this feature called auto scaling. What auto scaling basically is that, let's say now the load balancer knows it has 3 crore traffic coming in. I have 3 servers. These servers can take care of it. Suddenly it sees a gradual spike that the traffic is increasing. I have around 3.2 crore traffic now. Auto scaling, what the feature means that auto scaling will prop up another server over here, which will basically redirect, then distribute traffic among 4 servers. Then as the traffic reduces, let's say it has come down to 2 crores now, it will stop 1 server and put 2 servers in charge. So that is what auto scaling. It's dynamic. The machines are smart these days to know that this is happening. Now, this is load balancing at a very general level. What is network load balancer? What does network here mean? Network here means that this particular traffic, the balancing of this traffic between these 3 nodes is happening based on the network layer. Network layer means it notes 3 requests. It is not caring about the CPU utilization or RAM or other things in these 3 machines. It cares about how much network traffic is it getting. It is monitoring the network traffic. Once the network traffic exceeds a certain level, it will take action. Whether if the network traffic is dropped, it will scale down, remove a server. If it has added, it will add a server. That is how network load balancing will play its role, right? That is maglev. It's a very advanced distributed architecture. You could definitely read more about it on scholar.google.com. There's a lot of information available out there, as well as a paper on distributed and parallel computing, which you could read about it there, right? If there is any question regarding this, please ask. The next question that I see is, does caching and cookies play a role in determining the traffic? That definitely does. It does play a huge role. Let's say you go to a website, let's say whatever, example.com, right? That website uses a service worker to cache the website on your browser. Next time you visit the site, and the website will load blazingly quick, lightning fast. You just enter, it will load up. That means the website is usable, right? Its page speed score, the usability of the website has gone up by many notches. So that plays a huge role. The second thing is that cookies. Obviously, if you have visited a site, you are revisiting it again. If you are by chance introduce Google Analytics, it will by default put a cookie into browser to know that you have revisited the website 2 times or 3 times or whatever time is it. So next time you search on Google, that would also play a role that they know you frequent this website. So these things play a role in this particular segment of how it actually works. I hope I've answered this question. If not, please let me know. That means maglev acts as a network layer between the servers, right? Maglev does not work between the servers. It sits on top of the servers. It's a load balancer. So that is what it network layer. What you mean if you mean to say server to server messaging, that would mean you are using queues or other systems like that. For example, let's say Apache Kafka or AWS SQS and other things. Those things would play a role in inter-system messaging. But load balancer would sit on top of the server to distribute your traffic among the servers. That is the load balancer's key job. Right. So finally, let's come to what database. Now we have mentioned indexing, right? Indexing plays a huge role of what to do and other things. What does where does that data go to? Does Google uses SQL? Google uses MongoDB? What is that? Actually, no. Google uses its own database called Bigtable. Again, a paper on this is published on scholar.google.com. Please go have a read. It has much more data in depth which you would like to know. Google Bigtable is, as the name suggests, it's actually a non-relational database similar to what MongoDB is. Non-relational and non-SQL, which basically stands for that normally in general tables like SQL tables, you have data which is stored in tables, right? You have a data consistency. It follows acid properties, atomicity, consistency, and other things which are needed, right? NoSQL databases do not care about consistency. They give up on consistency in the sense that they store in key value pairs. If anybody is acquainted with JSON, they would know what key value pairs mean. Key value pairs is that you have, let's for example, my name is Rajorshee. So name would be the key value would be Rajorshee. So it stays in that. Page URL would be geekster.in. Canonical URL would be geekster.in. So it stores data in that format instead of tabular format. So Google Bigtable is Google's proprietary database. They have also started using another database called Spanner, which very little is known about right now, but Bigtable is Google's proprietary track, which they use it. And now they have also let users use it as well on Bigtable. So users can also use Bigtable. It's a key value store, schemaless. That means anything can be stored. Data, one particular record does not have to match another record. So that is a key factor of Google Bigtable, and that is why it's so scalable. See, Google has petabytes of data, right? Thousands of terabytes, so many GBs. It needs a scalable solution. It needs a scalable solution which can store data huge. Like you can imagine the number of websites in the world. How big, how many are they, right? We have crores, millions of websites around the world. If you have to store every data of it, you need a scalable solution. You need a data center which can, handle so much of data. Like you buy one hard drive, it's of, let's say, 4 terabyte. That's like a drop in the ocean for Google. That much amount of data Google has, which it needs to scale up. And for that, they use their own NoSQL database, which is Google Bigtable. That's their own proprietary tech. It is not MongoDB or other NoSQL databases. It's its own Bigtable, which stores data in key value pairs, which is schemaless. Like, for example, whatever is scrolled, right? Page URL, canonical URL, text, Google videos, images, everything is there in Bigtable, which they use it and then give you the search results. It's like a query they run, right? On top of other algorithms like your user preferences and other choices. So that is about the Google's database part of it. Is there anything? I think that brings me to the end of my session, right? So with that, I would like to end. If there are any questions, please do let me know. I'm definitely there to answer your questions. Is there any specific kind of data structure that Bigtable uses? See, normally data structures, if you look at NoSQL databases, SQL databases, data is in table form, right? You have columns, and then basically you have columns of data. Each column could represent a specific type of data. Let's say I have a table customers. I could have 4 columns, customer ID, age, name, order value, right? And then data flows in through rows. rows. And then, like, for example, I am a customer, I will have customer ID, one name, age, and then my order value, let's say 100 rupees. Then the data will follow on. These NoSQL databases do not follow that kind of structure. If you are aware of JSON, they follow JSON kind of data, which stores data in key value pairs, right? Which, as I said, each record, for example, here you have a record as a row. There, each record will be a key value pair. Like, for example, let's say I have a document called users, right? Inside user, I would have name, Rajorshee Biswas, age, so-and-so, company, Geekster, and so on and so forth. The next document could be name, let's say Ankit, company, it could be like, for example, let's say company would be Amazon, and then it could have a new field altogether, salary, which is not present in the first document. So that is why it would be how it works that way. There is no specific data structure. No SQL databases are normally schema-less. They do not enforce a data structure on it, right? So that is how it works. So does storing data happen using S3 buckets in AWS or Google Cloud? Google has its own cloud system called GCP, Google Cloud Platform, which is actually a competitor to AWS. So in that scenario, Google does not use AWS at all. Google uses its own cloud system. Bigtable, Google has its own data centers, which they use to store data there. Google file system and Google Bigtable are hosted on their own servers, which are there in the Google data center to power this, which is mostly located in the US, but they have presence in India as well. That is how it works. Google definitely does not use S3 buckets because they are a competitor of Google, right? What type of operating system used for managing this type of big data? So that is an interesting question, because Google before used to use Ubuntu. They modified their own version of Ubuntu called Gobuntu, right? But it was getting very tiresome for them because Ubuntu has a LTS of only 2 years, right? So 1 year they have to spend on upgrading. They would have 1 year, then again they would have to upgrade next year. That is causing bit of problem for them, because they have, it's just 1 year lifespan. It doesn't make sense, right? Putting an entire team to make your own OS and other things. So Google developed its own OS based on Debian Linux. I do not exactly remember the name, but it's based on Debian Linux, which Google uses to power their own operating system, which I believe even Google employees use it. So that is the operating system which Google uses right now. Right. I think that's the end of the questions. If you have any more, I can give another 2-3 minutes. We could wait, and then basically we could end this session. Sure. If anyone is interested in a full stack web development career, please join Geekster. There are skilled people teaching you the art of development over there, and I believe with the great development knowledge you could understand more about how full stack development works and how these technologies work at the backend to give you such a smooth experience when you use google.com. That would be great. Yeah, I guess in that sense there's no more questions. Thank you all for attending. It was a great time explaining to you. Sure. Thank you so much.